Hi everyone, it's Louisa here. The thing with memoir and nonfiction books for first-time authors, I was a journalist. My travel memoir was my first book. Many journalists and professional writers, copywriters, people who work in marketing, for example, are really good at writing and they sell their first nonfiction book. They don't actually know how the book industry works. It's very different to media, it's different to entertainment. The success of that first and often only book is very limited. I remember when I sold my first book, Love and Other U-Turns, it felt like a fluke. It doesn't matter if you have a big win. If you don't know why you won, it's not valuable. I really wanted to know how to replicate that success, how to sell another book, how to make a strategy so that I could clearly move through the acquisitions and publishing process. And I remember begging the universe to show me what the unknown pieces were. What many of you may not know is I wrote and sold a travel memoir, Love and Other U-Turns, sold it directly to the publisher in 2009 and it was published in 2010. I then spent the next few years learning all about marketing and I was working for a major university and I wrote my first fiction novel. I went to international conferences, met with agents, pitched it, made it through to the request for full manuscript with many agents in the UK and the US for that fiction novel, but ultimately it didn't sell. I learnt so much about the publishing process though. Then when A Letter from Paris came into my lap, the story that was to become my second book, which was an international bestseller, I actually had learnt so much about the publishing business, which is how I was able to secure a book deal from a pitch, not even a full proposal, for A Letter from Paris, which I went on to write in months, and then that was published in 2018 and released in multiple markets and as an audiobook. It was released in Canada, the US, England, and it's been a bestseller in multiple categories over and over again. The reason I'm sharing this is not to brag, but so that you can understand. I really wanted to know how to replicate that success, how to sell another book, how to make a strategy so that I could clearly move through the acquisitions and publishing process. And I remember begging the universe to show me the factors that I wasn't seeing when I was pitching that fiction novel and when I was realizing that the success of Love and Other U-Turns, my first memoir, was not all that it could have been. It only sold into Australian and New Zealand markets. It wasn't released overseas, even though the publisher had said that it had global appeal. So there's all these background things that I didn't know about publishing when I got my first book deal. The thing with memoir and nonfiction books for first-time authors, I was a journalist. My travel memoir was my first book. Many journalists are really good at writing and they sell their first nonfiction book. Like me, they don't actually know how the book industry works. It's very different to media, to entertainment. The success of that first and often only book is very limited. So I set about to learn exactly how the business and the strategy works to sell a nonfiction title so that I could get the deal for A Letter from Paris before I'd actually written it, because I didn't want to go through all that process of drafting and redrafting and the grueling querying process and then getting feedback and then completely reshaping the manuscript. I didn't even know what genre and category it was in when I first sent it out. These are the things that you need to understand from the beginning. So in my full mentorship program, The Art of Memoir, I now take you through not just the writing and the revising and the craft and the storytelling piece, but I have a full comprehensive mentorship on the publishing process. So I review your sales strategy, your documents like your synopsis, because this is where the feedback piece is valuable, okay? Not getting feedback on your draft before you've written it. There's a strategy and a process. And the feedback piece, that direct support from a publishing professional, is really valuable in that pitching and sales process to give you confidence. But I also know that not everyone's ready for the full mentorship. It is an investment and it is a commitment. So what I've done is take some of the publishing components from the detailed courses and modules inside The Art of Memoir that talk you through the publishing and acquisitions process. And I've bundled them up into a small course bundle. I call it the Book Deal Bundle. Now this includes the masterclass, which takes you through the 3-piece strategy to get a nonfiction book deal. Okay, what you need to show an agent, a publisher, an editor, what you need to show on your platform, what you need to show in your book proposal, any sample material to get a nonfiction book deal. This is a step-by-step masterclass. I also take you through some of the query piece, so what you need to show in your query. I walk you through what goes into a book proposal for a narrative or a nonfiction of any kind, okay? Have a guidebook that goes alongside this training. And I also have some pieces around media, okay? Securing media and platform and positioning yourself as the best person to write this particular book in this particular category is key to selling your book very quickly, okay? There's a bundle of trainings. It's 3 modules. You actually unlock a bonus module with my extra videos on how I made $40,000 worth of story commissions from pitching. So I'm showing you exactly behind the scenes in pitching stories, pitching to publishers. I've only taken a few of the classes from my more comprehensive mentorship, but I've bundled them up for you so that you can consume this. If you wanted to, you could consume the book deal bundle in a week. There's quite a few trainings there, but it's mostly so that you can have that background knowledge to understand where you need to start to get an agent, to position yourself to sell your book, to start building your platform, and what actually needs to be shown in the proposal. Okay, so most people do it in the wrong order, the wrong timeline. Most people come into my Art of Memoir course having worked on the draft for years and years. Okay, the hook needs to be timely and relevant. So this is why I emphasize momentum and moving quickly once you've clarified your hook and your premise and these 6 story star codes. But I take you through these fundamentals. How much does an author get paid? How does the advance work? How do different publishers and agents work in terms of their commission structure? And what are the pros and cons of going with an agent or pitching directly to a publisher? Because I've done both. I secured an agent for my second book, A Letter from Paris, and I pitched and sold my first book directly to an award-winning publisher. That was actually a really good learning process for me because that publisher was an amazing woman and she taught me so much about the industry because we had that direct connection. So the book deal bundle is 3 modules, step-by-step lessons. It's going to take you through the business of nonfiction publishing so you can know where to start and get a good grounding in what to expect and understanding of these basic terms like book marketing and audience and platform and positioning. So whether you want to write a nonfiction book like a guide or a how-to or something about self-help or spirituality or health, or you're focused on a narrative nonfiction like my books, a memoir or biography, any other kind of nonfiction, this book deal bundle takes you through the entire commercial publishing, book publishing process and what you need to show to sell a nonfiction book in the high stakes world of traditional publishing. Okay, because it's a lot, I won't say harder when you know the strategy, but it is the standards are a lot higher in traditional publishing, okay? You can literally self-publish 1 page, save it as a PDF, and it's a photo of a foot, and publish that on Amazon and call yourself an author. So self-publishing has just rapidly gone downhill, particularly now with AI-generated content, which means that people can just pump in some prompts to an AI robot, publish a terrible book and say they're an author. So you want to get traditionally published. It's a completely different game. It'll launch your career on a totally different level and cement your anchor in your expertise in a global market around your specialties, your passions, and what you want to leave as a legacy, the meaning that the passions that you have in the world. For me, that was literature, writing, publishing, history. Everything that I understood and worked through to write A Letter from Paris became my new beginning and my new career when that book was published and then subsequently became an international bestseller. So traditional publishing definitely has some wonderful pros for your career if you're an ambitious professional. Self-publishing also has its own pros. It's quick, you have a lot more choice, but it does not have the clout or the brand authority of a traditional publishing deal. And you spend money, you don't make money. So the book deal bundle takes you through what you need to know about the business, the commercial side, the money side, the hierarchies, the structure, what you need to show, and how authors like me get signed, what impacts global and international market sales and platform and all that kind of thing. So it's an investment in your career. The details of the bundle are below, and I will see you inside the course.